When the CARICOM Treaty was signed back in 1973, the ultimate goal of the Caribbean nations was the establishment of a single market and economy, what we call the CSME. Today, more than 50 years later, there's been significant progress in the area regarding the movement of goods and services. And more recently, we have also seen significant progress in the area regarding the movement of labor within the Caribbean region. Where, however, there has been less progress is in the area of the integration of the regional capital markets, the topic of today's discussion. Today we'll be diving into a topic that is both technical and deeply important for the region: the development of the regional capital markets in the Caribbean. In particular, we'll be looking at the market for equities, and we'll be seeking to make the case for a single integrated Caribbean stock exchange. So let's get right into it. Perhaps the best approach to appreciate the pressing need for a single regional exchange is to look at the structure of some of the more developed markets around the world. Today we'll just look at two quite briefly: the United Kingdom and the United States. In the United Kingdom, with a population of just over 60 million and approximately 2,000 listed companies with a market capitalization of around $3 trillion US, there's only one primary stock exchange, the London Stock Exchange. In the US, there are two primary stock exchanges, the New York Stock Exchange and the NASDAQ Stock Exchange. The listed companies in the United States is currently approximately 7,000 with a market capitalization of $60 trillion US. By comparison, the CARICOM region today, comprising of 13 individual countries and a population of just over 6 million, currently host, and I want you to get this region currently hosts 6 individual stock exchanges that currently services less than 200 listed companies. Let that sink in for a second. The US, which has over 7,000 listed companies with a market cap of over $60 trillion US, has only 2 primary stock exchanges. However, within CARICOM, with only 200 listed companies, in fact, less than 200 listed companies, there are currently 6 stock exchanges. Here's a quick breakdown of what the CARICOM market looks like. Jamaica, currently the largest and most active market, has 105 listed companies. Trinidad and Tobago is next, with 37 listed companies, followed by Barbados, followed by the Bahamas with 30, Guyana with 19, and the Eastern Caribbean with 13 listed companies. Not surprisingly, each stock exchange in the region is supported by its own individual Securities and Exchange Commission, its own central securities depository, and there are also a number of other ancillary services and brokers to support the institutional infrastructure of each of those exchanges. Given the small number of listed companies on each of these exchanges, trading volumes are extremely low, and there's a very limited and restricted capacity and capability to raise large amounts of capital. Again, and there should be no surprises here, whereas the price earnings ratio attracted by listed companies on the more established and integrated markets are in the low to high 20s. The price earning ratios for the regional stock exchanges in the Caribbean are relatively low. It's 16 in the case of Jamaica, 12 in the case of Trinidad and Tobago, and in the case of Barbados, it's just 8. While there might be some merit in discussing the rationale for the current fragmented state of the regional capital markets, the main one perhaps being the fact that these are all individual countries with different electoral mandates. The purpose of today's podcast is not to lay blame or dwell on historical antecedents which have led to the current state of development, but rather to focus our attention, I would say more productively, on what benefits can be derived by having a single integrated regional stock exchange, and perhaps even more importantly, what a roadmap to achieving this milestone may actually look like. So let's dive into it. There are at least 6 benefits which will immediately accrue to stakeholders with the regional stock exchanges to be integrated. These benefits can be classified as increased market liquidity and activity, easier access to capital for businesses, a higher level of attractiveness to foreign investors, lower cost and greater efficiency, broader investment opportunities, and perhaps most importantly, stronger regional integration. So let's look at each of these points in turn. Right now, each of these exchanges are small, perhaps tiny is a better word. There are few companies listed on them. There is low trading volumes and limited liquidity. However, if we were to combine these markets, investors and companies across the region would be able to trade in one place. This would mean more activity, it would lead to smoother transactions, and it would lead also to better price discovery. Ultimately, the merging of these exchanges would perhaps even lead to higher price earnings ratio for a single market. In short, the merger would lead to a more dynamic market. It also goes without saying that small domestic markets limit how much money companies can raise. This is obvious. In this regard, a regional exchange would open the door to a broader pool of investors, including institutional investors and even members of the Caribbean diaspora looking to invest back home. This, in turn, could fuel growth and expansion and even lead to further innovation. Another immediate advantage from having a single integrated regional exchange is that it would present a more recognizable regional brand. This is not to be underestimated. International investors could easily gain exposure to the Caribbean as a whole and not simply one island market at a time. This type of visibility will invariably lead to more foreign investment and global partnerships. Building on the concept of a recognizable regional brand, an integrated regional stock exchange would also bring with it a broader range of investment opportunities. For investors, a single exchange would mean access to more companies and sectors across multiple economies, increasing diversification while simultaneously lowering risk. A unified exchange would also support the broader CARICOM vision for a single market and economy, paving the way for new regional financial instruments such as Caribbean ETFs and mutual funds, and even digital assets. Last, but certainly not least, a regional integrated exchange would undoubtedly lead to lower cost and efficiency and would be a catalyst for technological innovation. Currently, each of the individual exchanges duplicates cost, regulatory bodies, technology, and compliance systems. An integrated system or an integrated exchange, on the other hand, would allow for shared infrastructure, harmonized rules, and reduce overheads. Now, while the benefits of an integrated stock exchange for the Caribbean are clear, obvious, and unambiguous, integrating the exchanges will undoubtedly be challenging. This will not be easy. It will take time and it will take effort. So let us not underestimate that. There are regulatory and legal differences between the different islands, and therefore aligning the myriad legal and regulatory formulations will undoubtedly take time and coordination. It will also take political will. There are also currency and exchange rate issues that must be dealt with. Even though the region is relatively small, it operates 5 different currency regions. Consequently, a regional clearing mechanism will have to be devised. Each exchange currently uses different systems. Merging them would require serious investment in technology and cybersecurity, and different clearing and custody systems could also slow down the integration process. Across the region, financial literacy remains low. Even with one exchange, therefore, participation would not grow without the concomitant educational programs that would need to take place. However, despite these challenges, the long-term benefits of an integrated Caribbean stock exchange are still absolutely worth pursuing. An integrated stock exchange could turn our fragmented markets into a vibrant, efficient, and globally competitive financial ecosystem. Now, given the challenges which I've just highlighted, if we are really serious about building a unified Caribbean stock exchange, it must be done in phases. We must balance our ambition for a regional exchange with the realism that confronts us. The key, therefore, will be a phased approach, strong political will, and significant investment in technology and education. So what will a roadmap to a regionally integrated Caribbean stock exchange look like? In order to kickstart the process, we can look first and foremost at the establishment of a regional task force under the auspices of either CARICOM or the Caribbean Development Bank, with a mandate to conduct a detailed market survey towards the issues and challenges that we are facing, and also with a mandate to promote cross-listings. The terms and conditions of this task force could also include the launching of a public education campaign to boost investor confidence across the region. During the second phase of this process, and we are looking now at about 3 years down the road from inception, steps can then be taken to develop a common digital platform for all Caribbean stocks, the establishment of a Caribbean Central Securities Depository, and pilot programs for new regional financial products. During the final phase, now we're speaking 5-6 years down the road from inception, Steps can then be considered to formally merge in the existing exchanges into a single Caribbean stock exchange. During this phase also, there will be the creation of a regional regulatory body and the launch of new investments such as digital assets, blockchain-based settlements, and the support for regional fintech and innovation hubs. There will also be the need for continuing engagement with the diaspora and international investors in order to grow the capital inflows into the region. So what are we saying? Let me see if I can summarize where we are. Bringing the Caribbean stock exchanges together isn't just an economic exercise. It's a regional vision. It's about empowering businesses to grow beyond their borders, giving investors more opportunities, and creating a truly integrated Caribbean economy. Something we have aspired to in the Caribbean for over 50 years. If we do this right, step by step, with strong political will and cooperation, the result can be, I dare say it will be, a vibrant, liquid, and in time to come, a globally respected and competitive market. A market that finally reflects the unity, potential, and aspirations of the Caribbean people. Something to think about. A word to the wise.